County Board of Supervisors April 12th meeting to order. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Okay, Mr. County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started tonight, I want to make an introduction to you. You know that the Broadband Authority has recently contracted for an executive director. That executive director is seated right here tonight. His name is Nicholas Pasquaretti. He's been with Gary all day today, driving around the county, getting acclimated to Lancaster County, and so just like to introduce him. Nick, you want to come up and maybe say a word or two, and if you all have any questions for him.
Yeah, well, thank you. Please, any questions? Glad to be here. I've been doing this for a long time. I started my career as a repairman for New York Telephone. So from pulling wires for Twisted Pair all the way up to a couple of CLECs and a couple startups doing broadband. And then the last successful gig was on the Eastern Shore, where we took a very similar area, and we took a cost center where a company was going to charge the two counties $250,000 a year to operate the broadband network. And we turned that around to where we were free cash flow positive, funding our own external bills, our own bills, expansions, and we actually paid back the counties the seed money that they gave us to start, which is kind of a proud moment for me. Something we didn't have to do, but I felt, I believe in shareholder return, and you're in the public sector, taxpayers are the shareholders, and they deserve the biggest bang for the buck.
Okay.
So I'm welcome. I'm glad to be here, and any questions or?
Glad to have you aboard. Gentlemen,
Well,
you
thank
have any questions or statements you want to make?
No.
Okay.
Now.
Well, you know, my contacts will be available, and my cell phone's on 24/7. So thank you very much.
You've had a full day being with Gary, so
Well,
you
And then some. We're putting for hazard pay. No. All you can. It's very informative. So.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, the first part of the work session tonight is devoted to the capital improvement budget. You had the packet that was recommended by the Planning Commission forwarded to you on the iCompass site. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. It's also, for ease of reference, I believe it's pages 48 and 49 in the most up-to-date printed version that I put at your desks tonight. Page 48 is the school capital improvement requests. There were only two for FY22, and of course, FY22 is the most relevant. I mean, that's what we're looking at because the outer years will get reviewed each year moving forward. So for FY22, the school's asking for $62,500 in matching grant funds for a school security grant should they receive that grant. They don't always get it, but when they do, they'll need the matching funds for that. That has gone up a little bit. It used to be $25,000. That the whole grant has increased in value, so now the 25% match is $62,500. Their other request is to have additional money for the renovation of the old library into the early childhood facility. They had already approved $500,000 in the FY21 capital improvement budget for that renovation project. Superintendent Russell had told me that he hoped to get private funds in addition to that $500,000 to make that entire renovation happen. The private funds have been dwindling, or not as good as expected, and so they are asking to move the money that would have been on here for the bus replacements, two buses at $197,000, move that money to the additional money for the renovation of the library. They feel that the school buses have not been running during the last year because of the pandemic, so it's not going to affect them adversely by not replacing two this year, And so they're asking to move that money from the bus replacement to the renovation of the old library. So that's the two requests from the school system. Any questions on that?
There was something in the range of 500, I even seen, I think, a figure of 600,000 approved in a prior year,
500,000.
500?
500.
Okay, so when we have 500 in FY '22, I know they've been working on it. Is that in addition to what they've already spent?
It's in addition to what they have gotten approved. So it would be a total of 697,000. And they were looking at the last estimate I think Dan had was about 750,000. So I think he's also still looking for some private money to help make up that difference.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right.
If you flip the page to page 49, that's the county capital capital improvement budget requests. And there's some big ticket items on here. I'll just go through the smaller ones first. The P25 emergency radio system and equipment upgrade, we're going to be federally mandated to digitally upgrade our emergency communication system by 2025. And we had an estimate in last year's capital improvement budget of $1.1 million. Matt, and in coordination with Jeffrey from the Sheriff's Office, have decided that let's push that out a few years, and they're basically asking for some planning money, $10,000, to hire a consultant to see exactly what we may need for this. And I think Nicholas may be involved in this as well, because I've learned that the broadband circuit that is coming from Segra could possibly serve to facilitate this upgrade, and that's about as far as I can go with it at this point. I do know that our EMS chief has set up a meeting with the group that adjoining counties are going with. It's called the Harris System. And I also want to set up a meeting with Nicholas and Jeffrey and Matt and our broadband vendor who is working on the CARES Act Tower project as well as the Smart Pole project, and bring them together to find out exactly how the broadband can play into that. But regardless, we're going to be required to do it by 2025. Matt's asking for $10,000 in planning money for that. I'm going to skip over the next three items: the roof replacement on this building, the HVAC replacement at the courthouse, and the Sheriff's Office building expansion for the dispatch, because I've got my building official here, Ernie Sadler, who can address those items. Moving down in the FY22 column, you'll see Sheriff's Office patrol vehicle for $38,000. They handle one vehicle via the capital improvement budget, and then they handle one vehicle through lease in their operating budget, replacing two vehicles a year. So that's pretty much a standard request. If you look down one item further, it's the Sheriff's Office HVAC replacements on the jail. They've been trying to replace a couple of those units each year to keep them more up to date and to reduce the downtime. So those three small items are, I guess, regular maintenance items, or that we would see normally. Any questions on those three? Well, at this time, I guess I'd like to ask Ernie to come up and talk about the three big ticket items. And I guess the first one is replacement of this roof on this building and the wings. We've had several leaks in the past year or two, and they're becoming harder to fix. It's a slate roof on this building, probably every bit of 100 years old. And Ernie made a presentation to the Planning Commission. I'm sure you saw the Planning Commission minutes in your package. The Planning Commission wanted to keep a slate roof if at all possible. And one of the members of the Planning Commission is a roofer by trade. And he made a statement at a Planning Commission that you don't replace a slate roof. with asphalt shingles. So the Planning Commission would like to retain a slate roof if possible. It's going to cost more money, and I think Ernie has an update on where that would go. This $161,817 estimate is based on a composite shingle that would look like slate. And he's got samples here for you all to look at. And I'd ask you to look at the picture.
I don't need to see
At the
that.
top. You can see from a distance, it looks like slate, but it's actually an asphalt shingle. So,
I would be against that.
well, that's where that estimate came from. And so, Ernie, do you all have questions for me on that?
The statement, I assume, Mr. Penn,
Yeah.
that you don't replace the slate roof with a composite shingle, was that an aesthetic thing, or was he trying to say that, you're causing yourself a lot of problems?
I think he was making a point that you don't want to do that. That's not done,
Is it not done because there's historic significance to the slate roof? Or
That's
is it
what he
not
said.
done because it could, there could be greater problems by going to a composite?
It's aesthetics, it's the look.
It's the look, and also, slate just lasts so much longer than an asphalt shingle, so.
Well, until it starts leaking,
Huh?
until it starts leaking.
So, as you guys know, I got a quote, and we did the Grand Manor, which is a asphalt shingle that is made to look like slate. And of course, that was replacing the entire roof. That was all of the flat roofs, all of the A roofs, everything complete was the 61,817. So, with their concerns of looking at the slate, trying to retain that, I did get a brief estimate. It is not detailed because he's waiting on a few figures, but he said it is a very close estimate. It is not to replace the roof, it is only to repair it. So what they would be redoing is repairing all of the valleys throughout the building. The roof that is on top of this structure here, the two-story part, is completely gone. There is no repairing it. And I've had two slate companies that have told me that. So that roof would have to be completely replaced with slate. So it would match what we have now. In that quote, there's also, there's a flat roof on top of the treasurer's office and goes over top of Betty's. It's not very wide, but it does go the entire length. It is an asphalt glue-down type product now. It has failed. It's coming up. I've actually been up there and putting nails in it weekly to try and keep it down. Both quotes are to replace that as well. So to repair the slate and replace this one here, the quote, and you guys should have a copy of this, come up to $217,100. Now with that, I want you to understand that the only one that's getting completely replaced is just this building. The rest of it is just replacing the copper valleys, that's it. So we would still have the existing slate there.
And they're confident that that's the problem in those other places?
There are holes in it is the problem that we're having. We have a lot of slates that are coming loose in different areas throughout the whole building. They are going to try to put those back. The way they do that, there's a clip that goes up and it hooks underneath of it. So you would see like a little black clip that hooks out under the bottom of it. But they are going to repair all of the problem issues now. Of course, they're not going to warranty any of the other that's existing, but the repairs, of course, would be warranted a year. The problem with that is throughout the whole building, we have different areas that are, some of them are 5 by 5, that the complete area is loose. And then throughout the rest of the building, there's areas that are fine. So they are just going to repair the valleys and what shingles that are loose currently, and then this roof would be replaced completely.
How long does slate last?
From what they're telling me, between 45 and 50 years. That's what I'm getting. I've seen slate roofs out there last a lot longer than that.
It's way longer than that.
Slate lasts a long. What happens with it is the maintenance. When you're up on top of the building working on other things, slate doesn't like to be walked on. So anytime that we're having to go out there to fix, anything, and you have to walk across that slate, it damages a piece every time you go out.
What about the type of material that's a composite that they used over like on the VDOT building? It's a plastic material.
I did a lot of research on that, and every slate company that I talked to recommended we stayed away from it. They've had a lot of issues with it, and the reviews that I've seen online are not good on it. They've had a lot of problems with it, and the cost comparison of it is pretty close to
It isn't
actual
that much
slate.
difference, really.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So I stayed away from it for that reason.
The fix for the treasurer's wing where it's flat, are they gonna bring that to an A?
No, so what we decided on that, right now, the way that that flat roof works is it has two drains, one about midway of each half section, and it drains to those drains. So what we're looking at doing is what they call a tapered insulation board that would go on top of the current roof. And then once they put the new membrane down, all of the water would run off the roof instead of going to the current drains. Two reasons for that. One is, as you know, flat roofs with roof drains always cause a problem. And two, the drains are old, so they would rather it going off, because it's a roof beside it. So we're gonna switch that around, and it's gonna have a slight pitch, but not enough that you would see it.
Would you say that the major problems that we got though is in the valleys?
That is correct.
Okay.
The major issues, what I've been told, and Bob and I talked about this earlier, and they're telling me that the chemicals in the slate and copper over the years start to disassemble metals.
React to
and
each other.
we're having almost like rust holes in the copper. And what I'm doing with them right now is I've got a rubber tape that I put over them, and then I put a silicone-based roof product over to stop the leaks.
We get these repairs done, and other parts of the roof would start giving you problems, and you're gonna be up there and walking over the slate that's been replaced.
I agree with you, and my recommendation is the asphalt shingle. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but the reason is I can have any roofing company throughout the area that can work on this. With slate, I'm having a heck of a time just finding people to come work on it. Nobody wants to do anything with it. Any roofing company can make a repair to a asphalt shingle. You have a damaged section 10 by 10, you can take those up, replace them, put it back down, they blend in, you don't see anything. With slate, it's a specialty to do that. Just to repair the valleys, if you look, it is detailed in here, just those valleys is $57,000.
That's what the slate
That's with the
alternative.
slate, and that's just repairing those little valleys. Just the maintenance on slate is extremely expensive. So, I mean, my personal opinion is I would do asphalt.
Okay, let's say we go with the asphalt shingles. They tear the slate off and you find that you've got sheeting that is rotted and has to be replaced. Does that estimate account for
It does not, because it's unseen, so any estimate on that is not gonna include that, and
Okay,
it
so
does,
that would
it
be
does
over and
detail.
above.
Is
sir.
the roof a sheathing roof? Because sometimes shingles are done with lath. like
So
board
all
lath.
of this part here is actually true some of it's 1x8, some of it's actually 1x10 material, and I have been up and checked that. There is a few areas, especially out along the edge where we had to replace this soffit over here, that has some damage to it. I don't think it's bad enough that we would have to pull those up, but instead of doing sheets of plywood, it is just 1x material, it is rough cut. Now, on the back side over our office is plywood, it is a plywood shingle. Most everything over here is like a lath.
So you went up in the attic and looked from the
Yes, sir.
underneath?
Yes, sir. And it's pretty up there, some big beams.
Is there any mold issues or anything?
No, not that I seen. Most of them we've caught pretty quickly. The one that we were having the major issue is on the wing that goes down toward our office, which was Brian's old office. I had a heck of a time finding that one. So we finally figured out where it was coming from. It was almost 12 feet up the roof line from where it was actually coming in the building. And it's between two different roof lines, so it was hard for us to get to it. But most of them we've caught pretty early, so there's no major damage.
Does that estimate include not the old jailhouse, but the one right next to the building here?
The estimate included this whole facility altogether. One other thing that was on there in both estimates is there's a small shed roof dormer toward the parking lot on the old jail side, and that had copper on it. Because you can see it, I did try to keep that as copper. They said the difference between that or metal would be very minimal, so I am doing copper back on that with either estimate.
You said you had to walk on the roof to get to stuff. What do you walk on the roof to get to have to repair?
Painting, any of our fans, our exhaust fans are on the roofs, so we have to walk up and down it to get to those.
You can't access those with a lift?
No, sir. The problem that we have is the flat roofs are kind of inside of the tapered parts. So, like the flat roof here, I would have to come up over Don's offices, which is extremely high anyway, because you're in that bottom. We couldn't even get a lift down there to get to it. So either way you go, you have to walk over it. I try to go up and go out through the window
Yeah,
upstairs
because you're not
to
supposed
most
to
of
ever
it.
walk on slate, really.
Yeah. And that's one of my reasons that I would go with the asphalt, it's just because it's a easier maintenance.
And when you repair the copper valleys,
Mhm.
what's to stop the water from, what's to stop the copper from corroding right around from where you've done the repair? It seems to me that's gonna be, if you don't replace those valleys with another material, it's just gonna keep doing that. And then you're gonna walk on the slate again to get to it, to try to either patch it or replace that.
So the only type of material that we can use in the valley with slate is copper.
Wonderful.
So, but you gotta remember, I mean, we're having issues with these copper valleys going back. It's been many a year. I did a historical research, I gave it to Don, and I did not print a copy of it. But it looks like about 100 years that this roof has been on here now. So, I mean, this is something that's gonna project it out if we can get the valleys done, as long as the rest of the shingles hold up.
I would understand that if it was a brand-new valley, but it's a valley that you've put patches in. And
No,
it's-
they're gonna replace them. So
Yeah.
what this quote is for is they're gonna pull back the slate 4 feet on each side of the valley, take the old copper out, make new copper valleys, install the
Okay.
new, and then put the slates back.
Okay.
What about a sort of a hybrid approach where you'd use asphalt, where you have to walk over the roof to get to whatever you have to, and then on the main roof here, like this, on the historic parts of this building, it could be stay slate?
And we could do something similar to that. The one thing that I do.
Try to like replace where slate mostly where you can see it, and then leave enough access to where you have to go on the roof to walk on, just put asphalt there, and everything else would be slate.
So the roof that, for the second story here, alone in that quote is $124,700. So to maintain the slate on this building, that is the biggest part of it, is this roof here. And it's just so much damage on it that it's
Yeah.
beyond repair. And from what we got out of the historical, the rest of it was done about 100 years ago, and this part
this is
here was
original.
probably 150 years ago, from what we could gather out of it.
Yeah.
So your recommendation and my own feeling about it, I would opt for the asphalt shingles.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta remember with me is I'm not a historical person, so I'm looking at it as maintenance. And that's the way I foresee everything, of course, that's what I do. So I look at things as maintenance. So I understand that there's a lot out there that like the historical and they like the look of that. Just with me, I see maintenance. So I mean, I look at easiest to
I
maintain.
think that should be the overriding criteria.
So-
And the courthouse has a asphalt shingle roof as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we cheapened out on that building. We got what we paid for as a result.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll be replacing that roof probably in another 10 years as a
Yeah.
result of problems.
I've already replaced parts of it.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in favor of keeping the slate as best as we can. I mean, I realize there's access points, but I'm on the side of, it's a historical building too, and we should maintain the historical character, just like Christ Church replaced theirs and had a bunch of specialists come in. It cost a lot of money, but they would not put an asphalt roof on that building. It would be crazy to do such a thing, and I, at least on this part of the original historic building, I would feel the same way.
I'm having a disconnect between this roof is absolutely shot. And yet, there's no major leaks that you could find by going up and looking at this from underneath.
You can see where there is some water been coming in, and there's a lot of patches on it. So the way that we actually inspected this roof is he come in with a drone, and we flew down, and he flew just over top of the roof so he could see it. And there's been a lot of patches to this roof.
And that's patching on the slate?
Yes, what they do is they'll come in and they'll chisel out the damaged piece, and then they'll take and slide a new piece up underneath there with a clip on it, and that's kind of what he's given us a price here to do. And there's a lot of areas on this roof that he said that had almost like a asphalt putty on top of them. And I know I've done that a couple of
And
times.
that slate broke because someone walked on it?
That one I think is probably just age, because there shouldn't be any walking up here other than, you know, to paint the cupola that's on top.
Yeah, I just don't understand how slate just breaks.
Some of it breaks due to like weather, like just as rock does when it gets cold,
Yeah.
it gets wet, freezing and thawing, and that over time,
Yeah.
many years.
Erosion, I mean, you think of
Erosion,
rocks, over
basically.
the years, a rock starts to minimize in size.
And don't forget, we had a large tree out here that we took down a few years ago that had limbs break off and fall, and several of them fell on the roof
Okay.
here as well.
That was before me, so I didn't know that one.
I tend to side with Jason as far as this roof right here, is keeping that slate the best
Okay.
we can.
So what I can do is I know that this roof here was 124/7. So what I can do is ask them to take out this roof, the price of what they have for asphalt shingles on this one. The only issue that I want you guys to look at too is this roof here, you're gonna see from the sides, if we did asphalt on these over here, then you're gonna run into the same situation, as you're gonna see slate here and then asphalt directly beside it.
Do
Well,
you
that's where
think-
I was thinking that we could only put asphalt just in a area where you need to get to walk on to get to stuff. Everywhere else would be slate and you'd never walk on it.
So you wanna try to maintain the slate throughout the whole building, replace and then do asphalt just where we need to walk across?
Exactly.
Okay.
That would be my preference.
I was wondering though, if we use that composite, you know, that looks like slate, how would that, if we did slate here, how would that blend in? You know, if you had that on the other side,
I've seen some of the composites, the color is not gonna match
the
up.
color.
Yeah, and the biggest issue that I have found from my research online is it fades, tremendously fades. It's kind of like the composite deck that you put on the back of your house. I mean, it's nice and brown, and then 5-10 years down the road, it's to turn more tan. So I think that's the problem that you're gonna run into, is that they're gonna discolor, they're not gonna be the same color to begin with, and they're gonna discolor quite fast between the two.
It would almost seem like well, it used to be asbestos type of shingle, like a hardy plank, but they don't make that anymore, but I'm surprised that like a hardy plank.
The only
material-
other alternative that I have found is they do make a metal roof. It's a metal shingle that comes and looks a lot like slate. I've seen it, but I haven't been able to find anybody that offers it in the area. But they do have a metal kind of shingle type roofing. And I don't know any information on it, but I have seen it and I have tried to find somebody. I haven't been able to find anybody that offered it.
I'm in agreement with Mr. Bellows, his suggestion. You know, with the slate, and then where you have traffic or whatever, then you replace with the asphalt or
Well,
whatever you can.
but not if it's gonna discolor and, be obvious.
No, that was, you're talking about the composites,
That would
right?
keep it to original what it is now. So if we did the $217,000, which, I presented you guys tonight, if we did that one, that would replace all of our roofs. So it would give us a long period of time before we needed to have that foot traffic back on the roof lines.
Well, it wouldn't replace the wings, it would repair the wings.
It's just repairing the ring. This roof would be replaced. All of the valleys throughout the whole roof would be replaced with new copper, and then any loose shingles.
But you
would be
said you had to get
repaired.
on those flat roofs and you can't get to those without walking.
So the
you go out a
only
window?
one here that has most of my stuff, like the fans and things, I can access throughout the windows upstairs and get directly on it. The biggest one that I have to get to would be the one over top of the treasurer's office. That one I have to climb, and I could maybe take out a section and do asphalt. I don't know how asphalt and slate would blend.
Is there no way you can put like a metal rail or something onto
We could
the
probably
slate
look
that you
into
can
that,
climb
yes, sir.
on that would not break the
That would be
slate?
nice, yeah.
Yeah, we
Like
could
a-
do like something like a ladder, where it would connect at the top and at the bottom to keep that foot traffic off of the slate.
Because you really can't, if you walk on slate, you're gonna damage it.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. You're not supposed to walk on it.
That is correct.
So, we need to find a way to keep the slate and then find a way to access what you need to do without having to walk on the slate.
Okay.
You can get to the flat roof over top of my office through the windows upstairs.
That is correct. So and most of our maintenance items are there.
Yeah.
There is a few on top of the treasurer's office. The only thing that we have on this side that we have to maintenance, of course, is painting. You know, there's a gable right here, that goes toward the wing for the administration.
I mean, because when you look at the price difference here of about, what, $50,000 about roughly difference between the original estimate and keeping the slate, I can assure you, you're gonna spend another $180-some thousand on an asphalt roof in another 25 to 30 years. So the slate roof's gonna last twice as long, and so that extra 50,000 should be covered in the length of time that it lasts.
And that's the thing that I don't know as far as, you know, the slate, of course, you're keeping what's there. So, of course, this roof would be all new, but you're
Yeah.
keeping so I mean, I can't say in 5 years that we won't have other shingles that start to come loose. Because a lot of our damage is actually on this roof here that has no maintenance items on it. So, I mean, there's virtually zero foot traffic on that. And that is the largest sections that are coming loose.
And that was damaged by the tree, you said, more likely?
I guess, yeah.
Are we talking about replacing every piece of slate?
No, this quote is replacing just the two-story part of this building.
That's what I mean,
and-
this building.
Yes, sir. And then fixing the rest of it.
And
So
what's
we're-
gonna happen to the slate that comes off of this roof?
It'll go in the dumpster.
Most of it gets destroyed when it
Yeah.
comes off.
Somebody had brought up the question about being able, if we decided to go with asphalt, being able to take this off and have it for resale. They estimated about 60% of it would be damaged just trying to get it up.
I'm just wondering if people would pay money to have the historical slate off of this building. Not big money per slate, and it wouldn't probably be worth it, but it might be worth satisfying that desire if someone
I think
had
the
that
issue you're
desire.
gonna run into is how do you get it down? These guys are telling me that they're not going to disconnect it and take it loose and put it in crates and try to get it. They said it's so much labor intense that they're not interested in even quoting that for us. So how would we get it down? I mean, I think that
The
would
only
be
way
the
to really
problem.
get it all without breaking it is to go up in the attic and drive the nails back starting at the top and then have somebody up there where you drive them out and pick them off. It's really, really
Yeah,
labor intensive.
I don't think labor-wise it's worth it, and I couldn't even find anybody would do it, because somebody did ask that question, and virtually all of them told me, yeah, we're not interested.
We could get the same people who do the volunteers for the refuse twice a year.
Bob, you don't want to go up there and try it?
Soil and water, what are they?
I'm sorry.
Never mind. Never mind.
Any other questions on the roof?
I mean, they would break into pieces and you could give the pieces away if they wanted
Yeah.
to.
All
Crush
right,
it up, do it.
gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
I
Or you
think the
wanna think about it?
217,
I mean, I'd say go with the slate estimate and then find a way to make it so you don't have to walk on it.
Okay. And with this, I have, I've worked very hard trying to get guys out here. Slate is a specialty item, so I've got a few other quotes that will be coming. It's just, right now, it's tough to get.
Did you hook up with that name that I gave Don?
I gave it to
Virginia
Ernie,
Slate Company.
Virginia Slate Company.
I have called probably 15 of them. Some of them won't come here at all. Some of them have promised me they'll come out and look at it. It's just everybody's so busy right now. And of course, we've only got one job for them, and you know, their normal contractors have hundreds of jobs for them. So I'm kind of low on their totem pole of coming to see me.
Yeah.
Is everybody in favor of going with the 217 with the roofless
Slate.
slate?
No.
No? Well, maybe I should put it to a vote then.
I think-
All in favor of the 217 replacing the slate with the slate here? Say aye. Nay? Okay. 4 for, and 1 against.
Okay.
All right.
You want to do air conditioning?
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next big ticket item directly under that on page 49 is replace the HVAC system in the courthouse. And historically, I've called it the new courthouse, but it's 11 years old now, so I guess I need to stop.
That's perfect timing. They go down in 10 years because that's the warranty on them.
I guess I should stop calling
10
it the
years,
new
1 month,
courthouse.
they fail.
Yeah, so that system, we've had numerous problems with it over the last 2 or 3 years. Ernie has kept it running. We've had to get parts shipped in here overnight on different occasions. It's one big unit that you know, takes care of the air for the entire building. And so with that, I'll again turn it over to Ernie to explain better.
The problem that we're having over there is just like Mr. Bellows has said several times. It was antiquated when it was put in. It was probably the cheapest way that they could do it. The entire building works off of one fan unit, so there's a super large fan that puts the airflow throughout the building. Anytime that just say that one fan motor goes back, the whole building is down, everybody. The problem that we run into is it's all special made for that system. So that system was designed and put together, each piece for that one building. So when I order something, it's not like I can run down to Kilmarnock and pick it up at R.E. Michaels. I mean, I'm having to search. The last time, I think it was Arizona I had it next day aired in from. And it was the last motor in the United States. So if that one didn't come, I was waiting months to get another motor. The problem that I'm running into is, of course, anytime it's down, I start getting feedback from judges. And when judges start sending you emails, I'm hot over here, we start to run into some issues. What I'm looking at, one is the system is designed to be a straight air conditioning. So a little bit of information behind it is during January, December, we're running air condition outside. That is distributed through each ductwork to each office space. At that point, it has a heater that's in line of the ductwork, so we're taking an air conditioner in the air, and then we're heating the air for each space. And we do that all winter. That's why our current bill's running $5,000 a month over there. I mean, it's just, that's the problem with it. It was a very poor design from beginning. What I'm looking at putting in there is a system that actually will take a heat from one office space and move that heat mechanically to another office space, take the air condition or the cool air from that space and move it to the other one without using refrigeration, other than the movement of the Freon line, the Freon in the lines. It's a super efficient system. Another thing with it is each area would have its own unit. So if the judge's office went down, that would be the only unit down. It wouldn't be the whole building. So each location would have its own system. So it would be a whole lot easier to maintain, and then when we had a problem, it would only be one small area. We could move people around, so we kept them in.
So they'd be more like traditional air conditioning systems.
It's actually more similar to what I've had in here. It is a type of mini split system. There's one larger outdoor unit, and of course, instead of the cassette is what these are called, cassette, it's a ducted unit similar to these. Pretty much all of the commercial realm is going toward it because it's super efficient and they're easy to work on. Parts for these is something I can run down to Kilmarnock and pick up at any point in time.
That's what we want.
And that's what I'm looking at, is going with something that is maintenance-free. The filters on them are easy to change. Anytime that we have a problem, it doesn't shut down the whole building. The other issue that we're having over there is you're limited on adjusting temperature in certain areas because of the way the duct was designed. So the circuit court might want 70, and when you get into the circuit court clerk's office, they might want 74. I can do that by computer, but a lot of times with the way the system was designed, it doesn't actually get it to those capabilities.
Can we sue the architect? Because
We've actually looked at that on the plumbing side of it.
if we cannot, I think we need to take a full-page ad out in the newspaper and say, whatever you do, stay away from these people.
One of the things I did want to reference in here, and I apologize because I haven't found it here, but there is at the back of, there's a whole packet on the air conditioning, and at the back of it, there is what they call a load payback analyst, and it tells you your payback time, and I apologize, I should have had already found it, but
Is that supposed to be the energy savings, basically?
that is the energy savings of it. And it was, I know it was on here because they did, it was in the engineer's report because this system is designed by an engineer. It was 33% savings in energy cost. The payback time, I don't think they put in there, he did tell me, was around 15 years. The difference in a regular conventional HVAC system for a commercial building, the lifespan is between 8 and 10 years. Of course, you guys know we're at 10 years over there, a little over 10 years. With the mini split, which these are called ARV systems, their lifespan is between 15 and 20 years. They don't have the electric backup that this system has. They use more of the refrigerant. They can heat in much lower temperatures than a conventional heat pump. Any questions?
What about a ground source heat pump?
Of course, you know I have a HVAC background. I have found that ground source heat pumps are not as efficient, especially in large capacities of that. For every ton of ground source heat pump that you put in, you've got to drill an artesian well. Right now, we're averaging, I think that one is a 68 ton. That's 68 artesian wells we'd have to put in to operate it. I don't think we have the land space for it,
That would be
and two, it'd just
expensive.
be the cost.
But, well, excuse me, but isn't there a system where you bury tubes in the ground?
That is
It's a
ground
closed-
source.
It's a closed system. It doesn't use artesian wells. We're not talking about water.
They are, what they do is an artesian well, they come in, it looks just like an artesian well, and the loop goes down in the well and comes back up.
No, you can bury pipes 6 feet in the ground or 7 feet in the ground.
You can do a trench system. It is the same type system. It just takes up much more land
But it's
space.
a closed system. You're not looking at the groundwater to, for that temperature. It's the ground itself, as
Right.
I understand it.
The well system is the same thing. So when you do a water source, ground loop system, there's two ways to do the loops. One is a trench, like you're talking about, dig a long trench, and it's a roll that goes into that trench, and it is a closed system. The other way is wells. So they do artesian wells. It's not that you can get water out of, they're loops. So it leaves the unit, it goes down through one artesian well, comes up, goes down through the next one, comes up. So it is a closed loop system. They're just pipes that run in those wells, so it uses the ground to extract heat and cool from.
Well, I'm writing a letter to this old house. I'm gonna tell them I'm tired of being fibbed.
Well, they're mostly efficient where it's really really cold climates up north.
Yeah, and what they do is, of course, once you get down that deep, and that's where the well type loops are much more efficient than the trench type, because a trench, of course, you can only go so deep. With the well loops that go down in the well, they're much deeper. And they take up a lot less space. They both serve the same purpose, just with the wells that go in, they don't take up as much land.
And we don't have enough land behind this courthouse to do the courthouse?
I don't know how many acres over there, but it's a lot. It would be a lot of. I think the cost, benefits, and the efficiency of it, a ground source system runs probably around 22 SEER. These systems here are running 23 and 24. So I don't think you're gonna reap the benefits to go to that type system. These here, the efficiency of these are just as good, if not better. So my personal
And
opinion
overly
is,
complicated is something we
Yes.
definitely don't want, because that requires a lot of maintenance, and then it's like these
And you're
variable
running
speed
into
motors
pumps.
that you can't just go down to R.E. Michael and buy now. You gotta order it and spend 2 weeks
That's
waiting
correct.
for your air conditioning to be out during the summer, and it sucks.
the biggest issue that I
To
run
save
into.
$2 worth of energy, and now you have a $500 motor versus a $50 motor.
The biggest issue
There
that we
goes your
run into
energy
with ground
savings.
systems is the way they work is they have a coil. So water runs through part of the coil and then the freon runs through the other. Of course, that's how they make their exchange. It's trash. I've had a lot of those systems that have been installed and I've worked on, and trash would get into that outer coil where the water runs through and stop it up. There's no way to clean it. So now you're replacing a whole entire water coil just to get rid of that. So I think the maintenance and the cost, it's probably gonna be out of the realm for.
Well, I
Best
just
to
hope,
go with
I
what
just
you-
hope you're happy,
Yeah.
because every bubble I ever had, you burst.
So it looks like it's best is to go with what you're suggesting, yeah. Okay.
I would be in agreement with going with the split system.
All right, maybe I should put it to a vote. All those in favor of going with the split system that he suggested here, say aye.
Aye.
Well, that's unanimous, okay?
All right, Mr. Chairman, the last high dollar ticket item is a expansion project for the sheriff's office due to dispatch needs. The law is changing next year, and it's going to require 2 dispatchers to be on duty at all times, and Jeffrey can explain that a little better. And this is not the same expansion project that has come forth in prior years. This is completely new. Ernie has gone out there today, and while there's still daylight, he has painted out on the lawn and the pavement where the expansion project would be. So you can actually physically walk out there and look at it to see where it is on the ground. It's 30 by 43, I think. 30 by 43. Yeah, and it would create additional space for the dispatch and also create private offices, and I'm sure that Jeffrey will get into that as well. So,
Don, a quick question. A few years ago, we had talked about a plan to build a building for the
EMS.
EMS. Do you remember, like, I remember that was over on that vacant part of land, but how much, do you remember what that was?
I want to say it was
over $1 million.
Yeah, 1.7 million, I think. Yeah. So, and it was brought up at the planning commission meeting, you know, when, I guess, we go down that road for a new junior high, high school complex, and the high school is no longer needed as a high school, perhaps that building could be used for some county offices, EMS, the sheriff's office, maybe the registrar. So that's a possibility, but that's ever how many years down the road. There's nothing that's been approved today that would make that high school not usable right now or not needed right now. So there is an immediate need for extra dispatch room. So, that's why it's on the capital improvement budget and before you tonight.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
We're having the two issues we're having over. The first one is with our dispatch. The building was built in 1978, and we have not done any additions to the building other than regular maintenance. So with a 43-year-old building, you're going to have expansion problems over those years, especially with today's technology. We're being forced into a program, an EMD program. That's where you call in, your wife's having a heart attack, the dispatcher stay on the phone with you and administer help to you until the EMS gets there. So there are times that we only have one dispatcher over there, and the jail staff helps her at nighttime, so forth, with answering calls. With EMD, they're not going to be able to hang up on that person to answer another call, or the jail staff might be tied up with an arrest. So you've got to have two dispatchers on at all times for this. So if you've been over in that room, Mr. Palin, I believe, came over there. He was over there the other day. Jason, I don't know if you've been
I
over
don't
there.
know if I've actually seen
Okay.
it.
Ms. Westbrook, I know you've been in there. If you've been in there, you can see that those girls are really cramped up in there. And we're having to add some more screens to our consoles. We're getting text to 911, of course, with the EMD stuff. It looks like NASA in there right now with all the screens. We've got the courthouse videos up there. We watch the courthouse for security. We watch in the back. So we're just running out of space over there. So with expanding out into the front, like we are proposing to do, that's going to give us a 20 by 20 area. Our consoles are 11 years old. We revamped that room in there about 11 or 12 years ago when we bought the current consoles that we have. The current consoles, the company has gone out of business. I had to get parts for it off eBay the last time I had to get something. So we looked into buying new consoles for the room, and we were having to spend almost more money because we were having to design the consoles to fit the room. So that's when we got talking with Ernie and decided that, hey, let's do an expansion, because we talked about building a new building for the administration and stuff over behind the investigators' offices. But this was less cost than what that was going to be and would serve our purposes for later down the road as well. The second issue that we're having is the security part. You can go to any sheriff's office in the state of Virginia right now, and you do not have walking down a hallway direct access when you come in the door to the sheriff, the major, admin, that type of thing. And that's what we've got. When they come in, they hit the buzzer. They say, got money and clothes for an inmate. They come down that hall and they walk right past the major, right past the sheriff, my office, down there to that window. I've only been up in that front office since July, and I know the sheriff's had 2 or 3 people that saw him in his office. When they came back down, they went in and started up their gripe with something that was going on. And, you know, the sheriff's willing to talk to anybody, but nobody wants to be surprised by, you know, that type of situation. And you turn the news on every day, and things that you would have never thought were gonna happen are happening.
Now, you don't have a metal detector.
No, we do not. So you've got the public and whoever else just walking right down our admin hall. If they were disgruntled, come in and say, hey, I got closed, and they just come in and start opening up. So the design of this building, working with Ernie, also keeps our administrative part of the building away from the public. They'll be able to come in and walk down the hallway, but the administrative people will be behind a door over the hallway where they have outdoor access, so they can go into the hallway to get back to the Book and Rumble jail if they need to. So we put a lot of time and thought into this, and felt like this is the best way to save the county money with also helping us expand and move into the future with the building we have. I'm gonna turn it over to Ernie after that, unless y'all have any questions. Yes, sir.
Is there any consideration given at all to trying to do something with the old district court room down there? The last time I was in it, there wasn't a lot of use in it.
The old district court is where our road officers have all their offices, and we also use that as a conference room, training room, what have you.
So you couldn't do a swap. You couldn't go down there and put in your dispatch, you know, do what you need to give yourself the space. Security problem would be solved because you would be completely separate and apart from the jail.
Well, you've got, when you first walk into the lobby, you've got our lieutenant's office, the two sergeants for the road, and on the left side, you've got 15, 16 desks in there. And then they've got the space where they go to their computer and work up there where the old judge's bench was. And then we have the conference table in there where we do training, especially with COVID now, meeting with people down there so we can spread it over this big table. So there's really not, if you swap it, you're putting 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. If you move that from there over there, that's why I came down here to utilize this space.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I've been down there and looked at it. They have it set up real nice and in the way they're using it. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
The only thing that I just see, I mean, I don't have a direct issue with it, it's just sort of the longer strategic planning of things that are coming down the pike, like you said, the school projects, the jail, I mean, the jail's aging as well, so there's gotta be maintenance coming down the pike or replacement there as well. So it seems to me that, yeah, this is scaled back for the immediate need now, but maybe it's not looking at a bigger future of where you might need to be in a
Right.
few years from now, and maybe this is
It's
sort
solving
of
our
like-
major issues right
it's
now, put
solving a
it that
problem
way.
for today, but doesn't really look at the
Yeah,
the
and
larger
we've done well with
strategic planning.
Yeah, we've done well with the age of the jail, keeping up maintenance. Ernie's been helping me do some things over there, and there's some things he just doesn't have the time and manpower to do, and we have to get plumbers or electricians to come in and do things that is a little more than what him and I can handle. But as far as the maintenance of the jail, with the things we've been doing through capital improvement and so forth, been handling those pretty well.
I think this is one of those issues that you got to do what you got to do when you got to do it. And right now, there's no getting around that you got this mandate coming down for the dispatchers. You got the security problem, and it's got to be resolved, not 5 or 6 years from now. You know, if we got new schools, you're certainly looking at 5 or 6 years from now before you could consider even moving down to the high school. So I think, you know, we need to probably just move forward with the plans being presented.
All right.
This is an aside, Jeffrey, but what is your inmate population today?
The inmate population today was 27, and the last 3 months have been over 30.
And what's your capacity?
Capacity, we can handle probably 45. They'd be probably, we made provisions where if it gets past where we have the amount of bunks we bought, they call them sleds, but the mattresses have fit them and they can sleep on those in the floor. And that's what other facilities are doing as well.
Would we not be advised to at least take a look at what that building was that we were planning on building and think about if that could serve bringing the rescue squad, solving this dispatch problem, bringing all these things back to this place so we don't have, so we're on our own property, not paying rent, things like that?
Yeah, well, that building was strictly all EMS. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was all
The
EMS.
dispatch was not included in that building.
But we could include it in there. for
Well,
the-
then you're going to change the size of it, and the price is probably going to go up.
I mean, I don't know. At this point, it would be a higher anyhow because the cost of the
Right.
building have gone up.
Right.
I'm just trying to think of like a bigger strategic vision than just doing something just for dispatch right now. When we have our EMS down there in a separate rented building, we have kind of spread out offices. Can we consolidate some of this? And
Logistically, if that were to play out, and we built that building over here that would serve EMS, could it also include dispatch? I mean, does the dispatch need to be physically attached to the jail?
It helps, tremendously it helps because, I mean, your bigger cities have a building that's detached or attached on one side from, the sheriff's office or what have you. But, you know, they're doing the big fire, they're doing the big, all that administration is right there. So, yes, with administration there, sometimes administration has to be called to, if the problem comes in. And we do a lot of administrative stuff during the day between the sheriff and them calling me. We get a lot of business phone calls that come in. Of course, that could be handled with, you know, advancing the line or forwarding the call, what have you. But you're also looking at having to move the wiring, the towers over there. We would have to erect a new tower for the site we've got here. You'd have to put a new generator in, all those type of things. So you're looking at quite a bit of a cost, I'm sure.
thank you.
Yep.
Moving the towers solved that problem for me.
All right. Gentlemen, do we need to vote on this? Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on the plans?
I mean, not exactly. I mean,
No,
the final, I mean, what is the I mean, we're gonna keep the look of the exterior to might match, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll match the brick best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the estimate for the completion date? If we start
I don't,
now?
I don't know that
I don't know that.
We have not done anything with that. We just got numbers on what it would
Yeah.
be to do.
You
it.
still
Right
have to
now,
go out,
contract.
you still have to go out for bid, right? I mean,
Yes.
you
Oh,
got
yes,
an
yes,
estimate
yes,
from one
yes.
person,
Yes.
but you
Right,
gotta
and
put it out
right
to
now,
open bid.
contractors are just so busy.
Yeah.
It's-
That-
I had
that'll
a
take
tree
a while.
fall on my house back in February, and they just got there last week to do the repairs on that, and I was lucky to find that one, so.
I did ask Ernie today, just because I anticipated some questions that were going to be asked tonight, if we cut down on the size of this to just handle increased dispatch area and not worry about the other offices because of the unknowns 5 or 6 years down the road, how that would affect the price. And Ernie called the contractor who gave us the estimate, and what did he tell you, Ernie?
So I called in, right now, the proposed is 30 by 43. And I asked him to drop it down to 30 by 20, which is half the square footage, and the total reduction would be less than $60,000. Because it's the same process to build that building, all you're doing is cutting down materials. With this, it's mostly office space, so it's not a ton of interior walls or finishes or granite countertops. So, I mean, we've kept it simple.
And my argument is, how much is security worth
Yeah.
when you've got the public access to, you know, your main people right here for the sheriff's office?
Well, gentlemen, all those in favor of accepting the proposal that's been presented to us, say aye. Aye. All those against, nay. Okay, unanimous vote here. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Hopefully you can find a contractor this year.
Hey, I've got a gun, I can make it go ahead.
We'll start working on that tomorrow.
All right, Glenn, put me up on the screen there. Gentlemen, I put a printed copy of the revised budget at your place tonight. It's also on the iCompass site. Didn't get on there till late this afternoon. What I've done on this synopsis page, you all told me to advertise $3.75 personal property tax rate. So I've adjusted the revenue right here to assume $3.75 personal property tax. So that, you know, that's the increase. It's an 84% increase over the existing rate of $2.04. This figure also includes the estimated $65,000 in cigarette tax revenue, which you all decided at your March meeting to pursue regionally. So that was the estimate that we had for that. So assuming
What is
that
the current rate again?
the current rate is $2.04.
Okay.
So 375 represents an 84% increase. And what I did was Dr. Westbrook's spreadsheet did not take into account the Personal Property Tax Relief Act. And so what I did was I used FY20 actual numbers collected and increased that by 84%. And it results in an increased revenue of $1,295,748. It also includes that $65,000 for the cigarette tax. So that's the only change on the revenue side. I did go through and make all of the corrections under the expenditure side that you requested. Yes,
So,
sir.
Don, that's why when I looked at page 2, I saw the big jump in the personal property tax.
That's correct, yes,
Okay, all
yes. And I'll zoom through this pretty quick, but on this synopsis page, you can see that assuming that increase in personal property tax, which you all have authorized me to advertise, you'll see that our fund balance at the end of the year actually increases a little over $1 million. And that gets you to 6.6 million. Now, that does not take into account capital improvement items right here, which before tonight was at $1,643,995, and you all voted to increase that number, the 161 to 217, so it's going to increase by almost 60,000. So that's 1.7 million, basically. I don't know if you want to pursue trying to borrow money, that little bit of money. A little bit, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's a small amount of money. But, you know, you do have excess in your fund balance to take care of that.
We don't have the 2 million reflected from the most recent COVID check either.
No, this does not reflect CARES money. This is general fund.
This is just what we have right now.
This is general
Well, it
fund.
does include the CARES funding that was part of.
No, it does not include CARES fund. CARES fund is a separate fund. This is
Totally.
just the general fund.
So do we still have money in CARES?
You have
fund?
close to 600,000 left over from last year's CARES
I thought
Act.
we had to spend that or return it.
No, it's got extended till December 31 of
But
2021.
didn't we, I thought we mostly earmarked it and used it toward salaries for EMS.
Well, it could be used for public safety salaries, but, I mean, that can be done anytime between now and December 31. So I didn't know if you all would have a more pressing need.
So we have 600,000 plus the 2 million, so 2.6 million to
Well,
add to this number.
you've got
really.
2 million supposedly coming at some point in time, but I have not seen any written
Some of that
notification.
could be
Yeah, but that
earmarked to the sheriff's renovation as needed for COVID.
You know,
I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, you could
Well,
easily make the argument that his
Yeah.
office space and the meeting space is too cramped for COVID, and they need social distancing of at least 6 feet, and so therefore, some of that money could be used for those renovations. I mean, seems reasonable to me.
I mean,
it's not a terrible argument, but
no, that's right.
we can go along with it. Yeah. But the grantors of the funds come in after the fact, and if they decide that you haven't used it in the way you're supposed to, you're gonna be paying it back right away, whether you're in a position to do it or not. And we've been down that road with the flood elevation grants that came down, where people will use that. And they come in behind us and look and say, well, you know, you shouldn't have allowed that, or that's not a good project. Give us our 200,000 back that was used for that. So that 2.2 million is gonna have to be looked at very, very closely. And,
Well, on the other hand, it could be used to offset salaries, and then the money that's
Exactly.
set for those salaries could then be used for that.
Exactly.
So one half a difference
Exactly.
the other, it's the same.
Exactly.
Just
Now,
like-
what I
like the
don't
argument.
know is with this new money that's coming, are the rules going to be the same for this new money as they were for the last
I don't
CARES
think
Act?
so.
Well, if the rules change and we can't use it for public safety salaries, then, you know, you have to look at a different scenario.
But is there a return clause on this money too? I don't know if there was a return clause on this new money either. I think it's just, here's a check.
Well, I have not seen any,
don't know.
all I've seen is the estimate. I have not seen anything else to go with the estimate. It's $2,075,000 for Lancaster
Well, how
County.
much longer are we exposed to wait to get it?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, the financial system and the national economy will probably collapse before we get it anyway.
Come on, guys, let's move on.
so, I mean, I guess the bottom line of what I'm saying is, I don't think we need to go out
And borrow.
and
We
borrow
can pay
money
for it out of
to
the
get
money
this
we
done.
got.
I agree.
So, yeah,
I think so too.
yeah, so.
Assuming all those things, I think we have a lot of leeway.
Exactly.
Does this keep us from having to pay for a revenue anticipation note?
Well, you know, the treasurer has said that she would like to see $6 million before she went away from the revenue anticipation notes. She usually comes in May to request. She looks at, you know, our balances as of May and makes that determination. She wants $6 million in reserves in May to get us to November, December, when taxes start coming in, so.
We've also historically come under budget quite a bit. The school
Yes.
systems, there's definitely going to come in quite a bit under budget this
Yeah.
year, and so we'll probably add another $1 million to that.
Well, you know, 2 years ago, we borrowed $3 million in a revenue anticipation note. Last year, we borrowed 1.5. So it's coming down. I don't know if she's going to come before you in May and ask for a revenue anticipation note.
I'd like to see us get back to a place where she doesn't have to ask for
I
one.
mean, it's great, and
Yeah.
we're fortunate over the last few years that borrowing that money really costs nothing.
Yeah, that's
So
right, that's
Letting
right.
the taxpayers keep their money and use it how they fit, and borrowing and paying that small interest fee is probably been a better than keeping more taxpayers' money in our coffer.
Yeah.
To me, that revenue anticipation note is not really a big deal, especially the way she manages it.
That's
She's
right.
a clever lady, and she manages to offset the costs of having it.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
In fact, 2 years ago, we actually earned more in interest than we paid.
And we didn't get in trouble with the arbitrage?
No, because as Dan Siegel pointed out, that short-term note, less than a year, you can actually, you know, make money on the interest. If it was longer than a year, then that's when you would run into trouble with the arbitrage. So,
thank you.
so no, we made out fine 2 years ago, and last year was pretty close to a wash. We ended up having, you know, it cost us a little bit more than the interest that we earned on it. But you all voted, in the past, to maintain no less than 7% as your fund balance compared to total expenditures. So you can see, you know, where you're
In the
at.
right direction.
Yeah, so.
Gentlemen's is 6, we got another meeting at 7, so.
Yeah. All right, I'll run through this really quickly. The revenue side, as Mr. Lee was pointing out, this number right here reflects the $3.75 personal property tax rate. Mr. Palin and I had some conversations, and he asked me to put together the synopsis sheet based on varying personal property tax rates. You'll see a packet there at your desk where I have adjusted this number for personal property tax rates at $3.50, $3.25, $3, $2.75, $2.50, and $2.25. You'll also see the resulting difference to the fund balance on those sheets. And I mean, you can take them home with you and you know, study them and think about it. The thing that comes readily to mind is that at $2.25, which is only 21 cents above where we are now, you'll dip into your fund balance by $94,000, but at $2.50, you'll be adding $95,000 to your fund balance. So the break-even point is probably $2.37, $2.38, halfway between those two numbers, to where the fund balance would not be affected. So
But hold the phone.
I know that doesn't address the reasons why you wanted the increase in the personal property tax, but I was asked to do that, so I'm pointing that out.
Where are we on, I mean, the original reason for this was to fund broadband, but now that proposal from, that other proposal may be on the table.
Yeah.
Is that still kind of in the air at this point, because they got to work out contract details?
Well, the Broadband Authority meets again on the 21st, which is
'Cause we
before,
need to know an answer to that before we discern
you
this tax
should,
rate,
you
really.
should have an answer for that, and that's why Nicholas was here. He's here this week to, you know,
Flush that out.
to assess the situation, and it was a $575,000 fee for that, and as you suggested, I think that's CARES money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm having a little bit, this ties into that for a little bit, because there's been some discussion about not doing the VATI part of the, just award it. Now, is it my understanding that the VATI is just gonna fill in areas of ABB that are not filled in on Windmill Point Road and a couple of other places, correct?
It's all in Region 3,
Three.
which is basically anything south and east of Good Luck Road.
Their premise is that if they get out of VATI, that they could get APB to take over and do those few that are within ABB's territory?
If
That's what they're thinking?
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. It seems
no.
that we're just gonna have to do VATI and let ABB do that. I don't know that if ABB does all the other non-served, are they gonna go in to cherry pick 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 that are within ABB just randomly dispersed because they have long driveways or, you get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and I agree with you. I'm sorry Nicholas left, and I'm sorry Gary
to do that
left.
Too, because
Yeah.
this is a real quandary of a question here.
Yeah.
Because I think the VATI is kind of separate from all this other stuff.
Yeah, and I think that there needs to be some clarification on that, because just like the CARES Tower back here, that's going to actually, theoretically, you would think that those folks within that 5-mile radius would now be considered served.
Served.
But, right now, they're unserved. So when does that distinction of whether you're served or unserved?
Take effect.
Yeah, when does that take effect? And I don't think anyone has a clear understanding of that. So,
But that's why Gary and Nicholas are going to press for clarification on all these points.
yeah.
I mean, we definitely need the clarification
Oh,
on that.
yeah.
Because I can't make any reasonable decisions on any of this without that piece of information.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge thing that may be taken off our plate if they're gonna do all that.
Well,
Basically, what we're discussing that.
yeah, and they're going to meet again on the 21st of April, before your regular meeting.
Okay.
And so we should know more at that point. I mean,
I don't know that we can actually move forward with our budget until we know that.
okay, well, I got a little something on that regard too. I also printed off your calendar, your budget calendar, and you all have that in front of you. And we're down now to, if you follow this schedule, you're scheduled for a public hearing on the budget on April 22nd.
Yeah.
You have to wait 7 days, and then you adopt it on April 29th.
It seems we may have pushed this out a month.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've kind of, this is the most aggressive schedule that you can have, given the fact that other boards and commissions have to act.
And we're done with our budget other than this
You're,
question,
you're,
really.
you're done with it, and you'll take care of the piece that requires, speeding up is the school budget. I mean, you'll take care of that tonight. And so, what I was going to suggest was, instead of coming out on April 22nd for a public hearing on your budget, push that off until the following week, have the public hearing at your regular meeting on April 29th, then adopt it at your regular meeting in May.
But the issue I'm having here is that we can't decide tax rates to advertise this budget
No,
until we know.
you've already told me what to advertise. You all told me to advertise
We
375.
advertise the higher rate.
Yeah, and so you can
We
always
can
adopt.
reduce it at any point.
You can adopt something lower, you just can't adopt something higher. So my suggestion would be, have your public hearing at the April 29th meeting on the county budget and the tax rates, and then adopt it at your
the May
regular May meeting. That gives you 45 days
To get the
to
answer.
think about this, and for us to get some clarity on the broadband, and it cuts out one extra meeting.
I'm in favor of that.
I'm in favor of that.
All right.
But
Okay.
I think, and I agree too.
Okay.
But I think we have to get some clarification of who's going to do this. Does the Broadband Authority have 2 lawyers on that? And we have the county attorney. So we want firm information. We want firm answers from the people and a clear thing. So do we need to ask our county attorney to make sure, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but make sure we get what we need when we need it? And if it's going to be the attorneys that are on the LCBA, okay, fine. But is the county attorney going to be the one that says, this is fine, this is good?
The county attorney answers to you. He's your employee, and he's going to, direct you as such. The attorneys on the Broadband Authority are, strictly for the Broadband Authority. I think we're going to know more by your April regular meeting.
Yeah, but we want to know it all. Well, here's the thing.
I don't know if you're ever going to know it all.
Well, the people that they're talking with have a history of not answering every question. Or if they answer that question, they don't back it up. They don't put it in writing. They don't do the things that we would expect if we were going to have work done on our house. And so I just want to pin them down with what does this really mean? The served and unserved areas? And there's a question also about the time when APB was talking about, well, you know, we're going to do this with it by 2024, it's all going to be done. Really? What happens after that? What happens to the places where you didn't get to? Is that wide open now for other? Those kinds of things could be nailed down, but if, yeah, and I understand the distinction between the attorneys.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if our attorney insisted that it get done, I don't care who does it, and then if he looks at it and says, okay, this is good, the board can use this, that's all I'm suggesting.
Well, I think we're going to know a whole lot more by your April regular meeting than what we know right now.
I would hope.
I followed that exchange of emails there, and Cassie mentioned in there she didn't know whether DHCD was going to go along with, you know, there are hard and fast deadlines, or appear to be. And to me, it's not a coincidence that APB came forward and threw this thing out as they knew that we were moving in a totally different direction, and that was to take care of things ourselves, go out and hire a very capable, you know, executive director. It's no coincidence to me. They want to take and nail us down and keep us from going in that direction if they can. And I don't like any aspect of where we take taxpayer money and put it into broadband infrastructure and it's owned by somebody else.
Absolutely.
And so I think those are problems. And let me just say that another problem, and part of it is my own simple mind, but acronyms in these emails are driving me nuts. I don't know when I see an acronym, whether it's a grant, whether it's an APB, or excuse me, an internet service provider, or it's a state agency or a federal agency. And I would request that somebody
Well,
spell those acronyms out, and then every email they take, they just copy those, you know.
well, Mr. Lawson, there's a rule that's been disregarded. You never use an acronym without putting in there what that acronym stands for. That's a rule, that's a number one rule. And for some reason, people, when they retire, leave work or whatever, they forget the rules.
Well, you've got a fast-moving mind like Gary Silverman's, and
Well-
he doesn't want to be, no, I'm not excusing it,
Yeah.
because you were absolutely right, Mr. Lee. And having been in the military for as long as I have, we took a very deserved beating for abusing acronyms. And
We won't fall behind you, I can tell you that right now. We had a book
Bible
this
for the
thick.
schools ones, they have so
But
many.
the point of the matter is, I can't read those
Like a
emails
dictionary of them.
with any degree of comprehension that I want to have when it's full of acronym soup like that.
That's right.
And a couple of those acronyms, almost within the same sentence,
Yeah.
they were incorrect.
Well,
One wasn't the right acronym.
It doesn't help that you're dealing with a company called All Points Broadband, APB, and Atlantic Broadband, ABB. So
No, it doesn't.
it makes it difficult. But, you know, you all created the Broadband Authority with a mission of finding a way to spread broadband throughout the county. And they're working on it, you know, a lot of information has come forth in the last week or so. So I think we're going to know a lot more by your April meeting. And so I would say let's, you know, let's see
That's
what.
only 2 weeks away.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it'll
let's
be
see what
really-
we get from
So
them.
as far as the personal property tax decision, that can wait till April?
Yeah, well, see,
April
you
meeting.
you all
We've
have already,
advertised, so we can make
yeah,
a
you all
decision on
directed me
May
to,
May.
25th or
yeah,
whatever
you
it
all
is.
directed me to advertise 375, and that's what I'm going to advertise. But I'm just saying, we can cut out a meeting. You can have your public hearing at your regular April meeting, and then you can adopt it at your regular May meeting. And
That works for
and
me.
we'll know, certainly, by the time you adopt it, well, how much money you're going to need.
But at
And
the
worst
same
case
time,
scenario, we don't even have to adopt it in May, we can push it to June 30th.
You can push it
and
till
adopt it
June 30th, correct.
and adopt it then.
I don't want us to forget those other points, which was the insurance for
Yeah.
our employees, and the land use for the forested area.
Right. Now, the loss in revenue for the land use taxation on forest land won't show up until FY '23, because we've got to get the ordinance amended by
I know.
June 30th. That'll take effect for calendar year 2022, but the taxes from calendar year 2022 won't come in until November of 2022, which is FY '23. So you don't see a reduction in revenue here under real property taxes for that land use taxation on forest land, because it's not going to show up in FY '22.
But did you add the increase for the employees' insurance contribution?
That's in here, yeah.
Okay.
So that's at 375. And here's the cigarette tax estimate of 65. So both of that's in there. That's the only changes under revenue.
When, is that tax supposed to take effect July 1st?
July 1, yes.
And they're gonna have the commission up and ready to go by then?
Well, that's the goal. Yeah. So that was the only change in revenues. And as I mentioned, you have the synopsis sheets based on differing values of personal property tax, so you can look at those.
Would we need a motion to change this calendar?
Well,
Well, when you adjourn your meeting, you'll adjourn it to your regular meeting, so that will take care of that.
and we all agreed on it. We didn't vote, but we all
This
agreed.
is informal. This is for us. It's what.
Well, you all adopted
We
that.
did adopt it, so I just
Yeah.
didn't know if we needed to.
Yeah,
Well, maybe we better
but
put it to
when
a
you
vote.
adjourn, you're going to adjourn to the 29th, so that takes the 22nd away.
Let's go ahead and put it, so we don't have no after
After.
on it.
Go right ahead.
I move that we adjust the calendar to eliminate the April 22nd budget meeting and handle that business on April 29th at our general meeting.
Okay. All in favor of that? Say
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. All right, that's officially taken care of now.
All right, under general government, I don't want to go too small here. You'll see under the Board of Supervisors, there is a small increase, but that is because of the health insurance increase, and we do have one of you who participates. So this is the new figure, and what I did was I just took the total amount of insurance premium that the county pays, county contribution, divided it by 78 participants, and that's what that 8697 is. And now, different employees will pick different plans. So, I mean, everybody's numbers will be different. But this was the easiest way for budget purposes that I could think of to do it. So that's what that reflects. County administration, this number right here reflects the position that you all want to create, the Assistant County Administrator / Economic Development Director. That's included there. County Attorney, Jim wanted a raise, but I said we're going to hold him the same. So. $800 increase, the contract that you all approved for Robinson Farmer Cox shows that. Commissioner revenue, the increases here are the 5% increase in salary and the increase in the health insurance contribution that you all voted for last month. The treasurer is 5% plus the one employee who you all decided to match the 9.3% increase if that employee was a comp board funded position. She is not, but she has attained the credentials that if she were a comp board funded employee would merit her a 9.3% increase. So you all voted to do that. That's reflected in here as well. Information technology, electoral board. They have come back and revised their figures for election officials and election expense based on the fact that there will be no more town elections in May. They've reduced their overall budget by about $17,000. This number in your previous version was about $95,000, so they've reduced it by $17,000.
Back to the previous category. This is Glenn's, right?
This is Glenn's.
It hasn't been mentioned, but he's putting in a lot of extra time and hours. Has that been dealt with administratively?
No, sir, it has not.
Then I think it needs to be dealt with as a salary.
I would be more than happy to work on that for you.
I think you need to have a discussion. He's putting in a lot of extra hours, and I think he deserves more compensation for this and the amount of work he's doing. So I think there needs to be a discussion on that, and it needs to be added to the budget.
I totally agree.
I 30.
I'll work on that, well, personnel should really be in a closed meeting, but,
Well, you can have a negotiation with them and then bring it to the.
well, you know, we can handle it within the existing budget, and if we need to do a supplemental appropriation later in the year to account for it, we can do that.
I'm just not used to talking about somebody when we're in the same room.
You know, none of this would have been possible without Glenn, I can tell you. And we've come a long ways since that first meeting that we had on April 1st of 2020 by phone. I mean, we've come a long ways, so.
Even if, I mean, also, he could be looked at as some of that work as being COVID-related. He gets a COVID bonus to take care of some of that work that he did on top of his salary for this current year.
Yeah.
Because he's done a lot of extra work related to COVID that he probably should be compensated for that, beyond just the extra time he's now has as a result of doing all this extra stuff and having to be here at all these meetings and things. That would be in addition to his regular salary.
Yeah.
So I think you should look at both of those things.
I'll be glad to do it.
I totally agree.
You don't have a problem with that, do you, Glenn?
More is better.
The registrar, you know, she had asked, the electoral board had asked for an extra $15,000 for her above the 5% raise that was shown up in all the other categories. I have taken that $15,000 out, and at some point in time this year, registrar salaries are going to be adjusted, and more than likely, they're going to be adjusted to match the treasurer's salary. But we'll have to deal with that when it happens, because,
And will that be picked up by the comp board, or we have to pick it up?
well, I don't believe it's going to be fully funded by the comp board. I believe it's going to be a percentage.
Percentage of it.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, so, but this is straight 5% increase for the 2 full-time employees in the registrar's office, and we'll deal with whatever the state does with the registrar's salaries when it happens.
So they do something in the General Assembly, and now they're just working out the details?
They did, and the governor sent it back.
Like everything they did this session, they just passed it, and like, we'll figure out what to do with it sometime in the future.
Yeah.
How to make it work.
I mean, what I understand is that they're going to make the registrar's salary equal to the treasurer's salary. Now, how much of that gets funded by the comp board, I don't know that. So,
How much is the treasurer's salary funded by the comp board?
the treasurer's salary is funded 100% by the comp board. And see how that.
There you go, Margaret Ransom and another unfunded mandate.
I'll co-sign the letter.
That's everything under general government. Courts, let me see, the only thing I can remember here is the Commonwealth's attorney. You know, the Commonwealth's attorney had requested a full-time position. Last meeting, you all took that full-time position out and increased the part-time salary. So you'll see right here the $25,000 increase from $22,972 to $47,972. And the full-time position has been deleted. Public safety, you all basically approved what the sheriff was requesting when he came before you. I will tell you that our new numbers for our health insurance has gone out to our employees, and they are very, very excited, very happy. So you all may actually get some phone calls or some kudos for doing that. So let's see. I took out the $200 for the bed flight that was proposed. Let me see, what is this? That's Matt. PG grant. Sheriff, the jail. Building inspection, medical examiner. So that's all the changes under public safety. Public Works, you all approved Supervisor Donald Brown's request before you when he came to see you. And then general properties, you given the blessing on that one as well. Health and welfare, here's where some reductions occur. You need to, the requested column is what has been requested. The adopted is what you all have agreed to. Health department's level funded. Free health clinic, you wanted $100,477 instead of what they requested. You approved Bay Aging's increase of $1,900. You did not want to fund legal aid works. That's been taken out.
Can you just take that whole thing out of there?
Well, I know it's going to show up again next year.
I don't care.
Well, I'll have to go back in. I mean, I can take it out. I'll just have to go back in and add it next year when
All right, fine.
they submit their request.
I just wanted to try and send a message to them, don't come in next year.
Well, in the appropriations, in the adoption resolution and the appropriations resolution, only those organizations that have been funded are listed. So it's not in that one, but in their spreadsheets,
We can probably just cut it out of this and mail it.
We could do that.
If you can hide the columns.
so, well, yeah, that's true,
All right, Don.
yeah. And,
Not that big a deal.
yeah. And the food bank, they requested 5, but you all approved 1,000. So in this particular tab, you'll see the requested was $3,593,000, but the adopted or proposed adopted is $3,547,000. So education, no change. I mean, it's a small increase there, but you all had no problem with that. I think it's a reduction or two in here. The museums, I just adjusted the breakdown. Bottom line's still the same, but the actual for electrical services was more, so I adjusted those. And community library, going back to the figure from a couple years ago of $112,995. And $10,000 for the youth club. Community development, let's see, this is no big changes there. The Broadband Authority, there was some discussion on whether or not it was going to be a full-time position. They've decided on handling the executive director as contract. I did not include a full-time position for an administrator. They may end up hiring that. It's included in the budget, but I grouped it under contract services, other professional services. And this was the revised total that they presented to you when you had your joint budget work session with them, $444,900. I will say that in the past, you all did move some money from the Poorhouse Tract Fund into the general fund to cover Broadband Authority. That option is still there for you all. The Poorhouse Tract Fund, I think, has a balance of 320,000 or somewhere in that range. So, that's an option. Soil and water conservation.
When should we ask Davenport to quote something for us? Should we wait to find out whether, this is all just supposition now, but if it is 10.6 million that the Broadband Authority would want us to have, we speculated at 3% for 20 years. Do we want to nail that down or do we not? And how much time does it take Davenport to come up with?
It doesn't take them long to come up with something. I think we need to know the figure because now with the presentation from APB and Dominion, do we still need 10.6 million? That's,
We don't need any money. They said they're gonna do all unserved.
they're going to do all the unserved. They're not going into the served areas. So
They're
I,
already served by ABB.
they're served by ABB, but some areas within ABB's service area is not very good service. So I think the Broadband Authority is kicking around the idea of still becoming an ISP and trying to compete against ABB and provide a better service product. And that's part of the reason Nicholas is down here this week. And, there's been some talk about possibly, after a certain number of years, because if we enter into an MOU with APB and Dominion to provide service in unserved areas, that's not forever. So after a certain number of years, maybe the Broadband Authority could compete against them to keep prices at a better level. Competition's good.
Yeah, competition, but when it's real competition, not when you're talking about a government entity. I'm in
Yeah.
favor of a notion of the government pushing broadband to expand where there's no access. I'm completely against using taxpayer money to be a competitive ISP. I would not
Well-
vote for that at
Well,
all.
hold the phone here.
I would definitely not
Hold
vote
the
for that.
phone. What we're talking about, for example, the tower behind the sheriff's office is going to reach out 5 miles. Within that 5-mile perimeter or area, there are people who are going to hook on, have a receiver, and they're going to be perfectly happy with what they get because it's better than what they have now. But that's going to be wireless. 25.3, I believe, is the maximum that you would get, and the farther out you are, the less you would have.
That's the minimum you're going to get, 25.3.
And I think it's the maximum if you're far enough out.
No, I think the minimum is 25.3. If you're closer, you're going to get a whole lot better service than that.
Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about now, the people who don't take advantage of that are in an area that's considered that they are served. But they don't have access to fiber broadband, and APB is not going to do that because they're in a served area.
We don't know that yet, do we?
Yes, that's one of the questions we have to nail
No,
down.
that's what I'm saying. We
Yeah.
don't know
But
the
I'm
exact
saying,
answer.
I'm saying that's a very high possibility. And the fact that we have said we want fiber broadband capability to everybody is the reason why our broadband authority should be an ISP and should offer that to every resident that wants it. The people will make up their own mind what they'll sign up for, but we should not go down that rabbit hole where, well, they're going to take care of it because they're not going to do what we want them to do necessarily. I doubt if they'll do what we want them to do, and we need to keep that option open. So,
No, well, like I said before, you all created the Broadband Authority, so let them come up with what they want to do, the next steps, and come back to you all and tell you. And,
but my original question was,
Yeah.
yes, they need to tell us if they need funds from us,
Yeah.
what that would be, and we need to get that to Davenport in time to come back to us because it fits in with the tax rate.
well, yes, Davenport can turn something around very quickly, but, you've already told me to advertise $375.
I know, but
Yeah.
now they're talking about
Yeah.
coming down to $2 and what? A compromise between this and that.
No, that's just FYI, information.
Let's move forward.
I think you need more information, you're right. You need
There's
more
a lot of
information.
unknowns with broadband right
You
now.
need more information from the Broadband Authority. You got to give them time to gather it.
I'm not arguing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm
by,
asking about
yeah,
us getting all the information we need
I
to
think-
make, and I asked the question, how long does it take Davenport to come up with that once we know the
yeah.
number?
You're talking days, so that's not a concern.
Okay.
And by the time your regular May meeting comes around, when you have to actually adopt a tax rate, I think a lot of these questions are going to be answered
I think they better.
by then, yeah.
I think the dam sure better.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
APB sounded like they were on like a crunch time limit, so it sounds like they should get answers turned around
Well,
fast based on
and
their
I
timeline.
think you're going to have answers and recommendations at your regular April meeting from the Broadband Authority. But, you know, they're working, and they need time to you know,
Flush things.
yeah, flush it all out, so.
Okay, Jen, 6:39, we've been
All right.
moving slow, I'm not rushing you.
Yeah,
Not
but
rushing you.
this had to do with broadband.
Yeah. You all voted last meeting to give the Soil and Water Conservation District the 15,000.
We did
Hold it.
vote that?
Yes.
Yeah, hold the phone on that for a minute. Does that mean we're now gonna get 2 cleanups from them?
Yeah, that's right. 2 cleanups and 2 ag assessments each year.
Hold them to it.
Yeah. Oh,
And tell
yeah.
them if they don't, they will be
Oh, yeah.
under the firing squad by me to lose that money appropriation if
Absolutely.
they don't follow through on what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was a big reason I supported it.
Yeah.
And I support it because you talked about the school program.
Yeah, and they do have good school programs, so,
Yeah.
I mean, they need to deliver on what they said they were going to do if they're gonna keep their funding.
Yeah, so that's it for community development. Non-departmentals, this is pretty,
Stuff we have to pay.
yeah, pretty standard. Let me see, where else? Schools, you'll take care of tonight. You had your public hearing on the 1st related to that. Capital improvements, you dealt with tonight. I need to go in and make that change right now.
One more question, if you don't mind. The paving for the refuge centers, we don't have a number for that.
No, Donald is trying to get new estimates now because the estimates we had last fall, you all rejected.
Right.
And nobody would give estimates right after that because they knew it would be the spring before they could do the work, and they didn't know what asphalt prices were going to be.
Well,
So,
how will we deal with that once we get some estimates? in there?
it'll come before you as a consideration item. I see what you're saying. It's still approved in the FY21 budget, right?
The money's there.
And the money's there from the FY21 budget.
Okay.
So as long as we get them get a contract by July 1, we're good.
Okay.
So, this number right here now becomes, let's see,
217.
yeah, 217, 100. Yeah, okay.
And I mean, of course, those are just estimates,
Yeah,
real
that's-
rough estimates at this time. it
That's
seems.
right.
So
I
they
mean,
could
we
go up or down.
we got to go out to
More
our-
likely up than down.
Yeah, yeah, but we got to have a starting point. We got to have a budgeted amount. So, debt service has not changed with that, and your summary is basically your synopsis page, but it also includes capital improvement budgets right there. So, I made that change on the capital improvement items. So if you go back to the synopsis page, it doesn't affect these numbers. It shows up right here. So it's right at 1.7 million is what I said. So, gentlemen, that's all I have. I've got the ad straight for the tax rates. I have to advertise that twice because this is by ordinance, and state law requires ordinances to be advertised twice. So that'll go in the paper this Thursday and next Thursday. The overall budget will be in the paper next Thursday. That only has to be advertised once. You'll hold your public hearing at your regular April meeting on April 29th, and you have to wait 7 days, at least 7 days, before you can adopt, and you'll just wait the entire month of May to adopt it at your regular May meeting. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Well,
Gentlemen, y'all have any other questions or comments before we recess? Yes.
I have 2 things. First of all, what's the latest on the Rust grant?
I have not heard anything from the USDA regarding that resubmission.
How big an issue do you think it is that that on these grants, we don't have an ISP involved. Is that a big issue?
I
To the
think-
point that they're just gapping us off?
I think that is a big part of it.
And if, I've been outspoken about the VEDA grant for the reasons I stated, but I've had to think that over a little bit. And I wonder what that means if we're going to try and pursue grants down the road. If we get it and then turn it back.
Yeah.
What kind of message is that sending? Is that sending a message that don't come to us anymore, Lancaster County, whether
Yeah.
either the state or the feds? Food for thought, that's all.
Yeah.
Second thing, I was approached by management up here at the Lively Wood Yard. As you know, we did no longer charge people or made them come into the office here and to get a $2 or $3 check to turn in tires. And the idea was that hopefully we'd improve on litter and that sort of thing. But there's a problem up there right now. At least they are identifying it as such. And that is that you've got one business that sells tires that is bringing 75 to 100 tires over there on a regular basis. Now, there's no doubt in my military mind that that business is charging $3 for as a disposal fee, yet they're bringing it over here and the county's paying for that volume of tires. Others either haven't heard about it yet or haven't got on that bandwagon that do a lot more tires than this outfit. But there are a couple of them that.
It was my understanding, I thought that was only available to citizens, not commercial businesses.
Well, and that was my thought on it too.
To me, I'd be
Jason.
fine if the commercial business wanted to charge the disposal fee and then turn that over to us and take the tires there.
Well, and what I propose is that that they put a sign up there that we limit it to 4 tires. That's just a number, 4 being if you replace all the tires on your vehicle. And if they know it's a business bringing it to them, they deny them the opportunity, because it's more than just, what we're paying a lot more than I think we should be, and they're making out. It's more than that. The wood yard has a space issue. When they're brought 75 to 100, they fill up their bin and even the trailer that they have to haul it to where it's going to be disposed. And if we get any more in there, the space issue will be even more severe. So I would propose that that's what we do. We just say, businesses, don't bring your tires here, especially when you charge a disposal fee. You take them to where it's supposed to happen.
What is the side of, on the ordinance, because we have a number of, say, repair businesses that just throw all their tires in the back and pile them up in the woods.
Yeah. No,
That can't be allowed.
they stack them up at their business and then they haul them away periodically. And
Well,
that's,
I'd be willing to bet there's at least one business that I know of in my district that does not do that, because there's a pile of tires that have been in the woods for years. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
well, you'd have to tell me where that is, and we'd have to investigate it. But, and that was part,
This has already been investigated for zoning violations already.
that was part of the reasoning behind doing away with the dollar fee to come up here, get a receipt, and then take the tires and the receipt to Ronnie Selfs and dispose of the
Why
tires.
can't the tires just be brought to our refuse sites and that we dispose of them? Does that cause a problem? Or?
Yes, I mean, because then we've got to get rid of them. I mean, it's easier to do it all at Self Woodyard. And we had at the Regina dump many, many years ago, when I was in my late teens or early 20s, they caught on fire, and it was tires mainly that caught on fire. And that thing burned for weeks. And
What I understand is where all these tires come from, because you can't get a tire off a rim unless you have a machine to take it off, and I don't know that.
Oh, you can get them off.
yeah.
Oh, you can get them off. You a youngster.
I mean, I think it's a legitimate problem, and, I mean, Mr. Larson is proposing a limit of 4. Is that a limit of 4 per day per person, or what are you
Well,
proposing?
that's a good question, and I guess, there's they could do workarounds on it. They could just bring their 75 to 100 every day for.
Yeah,
So that is a problem. And maybe we revise it. We just say, if you're in a business, if you're in a business of selling tires, you don't bring old tires to the Lively Wood Yard. That is for the citizens of the county.
I
And
think that's
like
the way to
Jason-
go.
Like Jason's talking about, you're not likely to get 4 anyway,
Yeah.
because, you know, nobody's gonna get out there with the old irons like I did when I was a teenager and work those things. There you go, I put it on one of those, and so probably that would solve the problem. Just say, tell this business and any other that comes out, because I'm scared to death that if it gets out, I mean, that's a great deal for somebody.
Let me ask this question then, if the business is coming, he can identify the business, can he just charge them?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
Why can't he charge everybody? If I bring a tire to him that's been in the woods
Well,
behind my house,
then you get back to the same argument that people don't want to pay $1 or whatever for the tires and they just throw them in the woods or throw them on the side of the road.
well,
And
then we can have an ordinance against that.
We do have an ordinance against
can
that,
send
but then,
Charlie out
yeah,
there.
but then, I mean, it's,
Well, I thought
I'm
it-
talking about for the business, charge the business.
The question I have is how many, do we see a reduction in tires during the cleanups? Are there less tires up on the side of the road because of this?
You know,
I-
I'm just throwing them down there where I am.
well, I mean, I think it has helped, yes.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. So in that respect, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But the problem with charging is, okay,
Not-
there's an
not-
accounting thing going on there. And when it comes to wood debris, I don't think we can do it exactly the same as wood debris, because in wood debris, what the way they've operated for years, and you can correct me if that's changed, is if you're a contractor or somebody who's in the business of clearing wood debris, you pay, and you pay whatever they want to charge,
Yeah.
okay? And
So how is the county paying for these extra tires? We have a contract with them.
Yes,
And
they,
so if they have a certain, that's for a certain number of tires? or-
yes, and anything over that, we get charged
So
extra.
how many tires is that contract cover?
Well, I got to go back and look at the contract, I can't
And how
remember.
many extra tires
It
are
goes,
The point I'm trying to get to here, how big a problem is this and how much money is it really costing?
it goes by tonnage.
it's more than the money. I guess if I had to speculate, the way the problem was brought to me, the real issue is storage. And if you've gone by there, you've seen that they're coming right out to the
They
gate
are.
with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
storms we had this year.
Yeah.
Now, you could argue that maybe they should do a little bit more grinding and all that stuff, but what they're working on now, if you notice, is that they're going after the Isabel.
The what?
Isabel, 2003 debris, right after they took over the contract, literally within a month, Isabel came through, and they filled up that whole thing. Now, they didn't ask for any more money to do that, but that's been sitting there that whole time, since 2003. It's now deteriorated enough that they put it into that machine where it comes out as topsoil. And they're working that now, so they will get some more space eventually, but even still, you know, if one of these big tire outfits decides to get on the bandwagon too, that's a bigger problem even than the money. The money, and we could argue, we could say, okay, we'll let Mr. Self up there charge whatever he wants. If somebody like, you know, Big L or somebody like Tracy Lewis brings a bunch of tires in. But the problem with that is when they take them, you know, are they just going to keep that money, or are they going to take and apply that towards the cost of taking it where they're disposed? And that's my concern. I don't, the accounting is going to, that's too involved.
Yeah.
I think it's better just say, businesses don't bring them to us. That's not what we had in mind. They didn't bring them when we charged,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no, he did.
did they?
The one you're talking about, yes.
Okay, I stand corrected. But at any rate, I bring that problem to the board, and,
Let me run the numbers and to see how big of a problem, like Mr. Bello said, and I'll bring you a report back at your
If you
April
go into
meeting.
that bigger problem, it's like, I agree, just either tell businesses no where they have to pay, and
Yeah,
citizens, you bring 1 or 2 tires, and that's one thing, but
yeah.
if you're coming down every 3 days, they're gonna know if 4 tires every day, and that,
Don,
some
I
point
would
it doesn't
ask
make
that you
good
talk
business
to the
sense
folks
either,
up
I
at
mean.
Lively,
Yeah,
would
I
you?
will.
Especially if you haven't come to you before.
Yeah, no,
it was my understanding they
in my
charged
mind,
$1 because that just covers the
And
cost.
get your own assessment as to how big a problem it is.
Yeah, and I'll report back to you at your April meeting
right.
on that.
Well, what recourse do we have if we know there's a stack of tires or a group of tires in the woods behind somebody's property? What do we do about
It's a
that?
zoning violation, it's a solid waste violation,
Yeah.
and it gets sent a letter, and You know, they're told to clean it up in a certain amount of time, and if they don't, it could eventually work its way into the court.
Well, which hasn't happened, evidently.
Not on a tire issue.
I don't know that that issue's been directly reported for the tire, but it has been
Yeah.
reported for other issue was looked into, and I think some of that problem was resolved.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
but
talk
if-
to you after the
You
meeting.
know, if you're talking about tires outside, collecting rainwater, you're talking about a breeding facility
Yeah.
for, for
Mosquitoes.
mosquitoes and whatever else.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a public health issue. We can use CARES money to pick it up.
All right, gentlemen, y'all have anything else? Because
I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I'm gonna do it, Jason.
I'm gonna propose a recess
And you're
until it's 7
creating this.
o'clock. Okay, all in favor of that? Recess until it's 7.
Well, let me ask you a question. How, we've already had the public hearing on the school budget,
That's correct.
and all we have to do tonight is,
It's adopted, but it was advertised at 7 o'clock, so we need to wait.
Yeah.
Huh?
Can't we just do it now?
No, it's
Well, you gotta
7
wait
o'clock
till
Saturday.
7, because it was advertised at 7.
All right,
okay,
all right,
I have no objection.
all right. Recessed until 7.
There's some snacks in the kitchen.
I called the meeting back to order.
Bill stepped out.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hold on then until one board member comes back.
I'm generally happy with all your code.
Going to be considering the school's budget, Mr. County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, you held your public hearing last April 1st on the proposed public schools budget, and if I can find it here. It was completely level funded as far as local money goes. There was some increase, but that's based on increases at the federal and state levels. The total budget is $17,136,727. The local share of that, I don't have that number right in front of me, but you've had your public hearing. You have to, the code requires that you wait at least 7 days before adoption of this budget. Also, when you make a motion, you should decide whether you want it to be in a lump sum allocation or by category. And of course, it'll be appropriated beginning July 1.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the FY '22 school budget in lump sum.
Okay, adopt. Okay, y'all heard the motion that you adopt the fiscal year 22 public school budget as proposed and to be appropriated by lump sum beginning July 1, 2020. All those in favor of the motion?
2021.
Did I say 2020?
Yeah.
2021.
Let's don't go back there.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Wow.
Unanimous vote, okay.
Move for adjournment.
Okay, just a minute, I think we got one other thing. All right, Mr. Lee has something that he wants to announce here.
Well, you remember we did the resolution for the 1969 Brookvale Warriors baseball team. But this Saturday will be the final step of that. The school board is going to present the ring, going to have the state ring ceremony on the 17th. That's this Saturday at the youth baseball field. It's going to be on the baseball field. The ceremony actually going to be at 2 o'clock. And I met with them last week. This is the youth director down there. And what he was asking, he's going to set chairs up on the field, and he's going to put 5 chairs out there for the supervisors. So, but he said, I don't want to have chairs out there and they're empty. So if
What
you're
time
not
you say it
coming,
was?
2 p.m. So if you're not coming, just let me know. So then I'll say, well, don't put the 3 chairs out there. He said he just don't want empty chairs set out there during the ceremony, and I can understand that.
What's the date again?
17th, it's this Saturday coming,
Okay.
April the 17th at 2 p.m. So
Okay.
he he said, I'm gonna set it up for all the supervisors, but I don't want to have empty chairs out there.
There's one other thing with respect to that. It's great that we have that on the welcome to the county sign. As long as
Yeah.
But at the south end of the county, we did away with the sign that we paid, that we bought, "Don't litter." I would like to see it put back off to the side, not on the post that has but there's nothing there about litter.
Well, I think the thought process was, we can put it back on the county sign once, an acceptable amount of time has passed for recognizing whatever we're going to recognize on those signs. So, I mean, I certainly think that the the sign honoring the 1969 state baseball champs should stay up at least past this Saturday anyway. So,
That needs to stay up, you know, I thought.
I always thought it's gonna stay up in perpetuity, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
fine
that's
with
what I'm
that.
Well-
saying, But I think our vision was that we're gonna have a sign up there recognizing all the state
Yeah,
champions.
that's-
That have gone through the high school.
that's the long-range plan, is to have a larger sign, and some of these smaller signs could become part of that larger sign, recognizing all past state
Well,
champions.
That's fine, but we went out and paid for a nice do not litter $500
Yeah,
fine
well-
sign. I just want to see it put up again.
Yeah, I mean, we still have them. I mean, they just, we still have them. They were just taken down to put these others up.
One at the north end of the county is there, it's off to the side.
Yeah, but we still have the other one that goes on the bottom of the Welcome to Lancaster sign as well, where it's,
Where do you have it? In the,
yeah, we've got it in the garage over here.
take it out and put it down there. That's what I'm asking.
I mean, put it where? I mean,
Don,
at
there's a
Chin's
whole-
Mill?
Pardon?
At Chin's Mill?
No.
No.
The south end of the county, which
Oh.
I come into because
On-
I drive to Mechanicsville every week and come back and come across the North Bridge and come through there.
So you want us to put it up, but not on the Welcome to Lancaster County sign?
No, it doesn't have to be on there, but it needs to be up.
Well, then we have to go through the permitting process with VDOT to
Where-
place another sign in their right-of-way.
Like a lot of signs, like in a lot of places, you have a commercial VDOT littering sign. Why don't we have those in Lancaster?
We do have them. I mean, we put up 10 of those signs a couple years ago.
Oh, so I mean,
Yeah, we put up 10 of those.
Well, I will say this, it doesn't belong over there in that building. Sends the wrong
I would
message, that's my
suggest
thing.
we could change the litter sign and say, welcome to Lancaster, go ahead and litter, everybody else does.
Well, getting back to the ceremony, so if you don't think you can make it on April 17th at 2:00, just let me know sometime Friday, so I can tell Travis and them down there, say, hey, you know.
Will do.
All right, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Unanimous vote. Okay, motion, we adjourn, meeting adjourned.